Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Spider-Man. We're going to talk about how you're never going to get what you want. They're never going to let Peter Parker and Mary Jane be married again, ever, unless it's in Elseworlds type multiverse storyline. And also Kevin Smith is going to be writing Spider-Man.
So hopefully he can write it better than he wrote the first Marvel.
Yeah, like what year is it? Because he was really big in comics in like the 90s, but in early 2000s. But we'll talk about this because I thought, you know, they're bringing Kevin Smith back. Like, I look, all will be forgiven, Kevin, if you get Peter Parker and MJ back together. But we know that's not going to happen. I actually was like, this might be like a huge switcheroo. Like, we'll bring a writer from the 90s and 2000s back to like revert things to where they used to be, and it's never going to happen. Tom Breevort is tripling down. Like every week now, he's basically restating again that you're never going to get Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together, even though this is like literally the most requested thing by longtime fans of the series.
So I have to wonder what his issue is. Is it his decision or is it a Disney thing? Because it doesn't make any sense.
I think it might actually. I think at this point it feels like he's trolling people, but I'm wondering if it is not a Disney thing because their MCU Spider-Man is not married.
I'm wondering because it doesn't make sense to be, especially when the numbers are there and all the evidence is pointing to the contrary. It's weird that he keeps tripling down on it. But then if it is a Disney thing, then just stop talking about it. But he won't stop talking about it. He just keeps getting digs in there, making it worse. So I don't know what to think. But there's got to be a reason somewhere that he's being so effing ridiculous about this, because you're literally flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah, and it was Joe Quesada came up with that, and Quesada is no longer with Marvel. So what's, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely something going on. I don't pretend to know the hows and whys of it, but it could be a Disney thing, because I know they had with the Marvel characters, they had like basically their character Bible, and they do this with all the Disney characters across all the brands. Like, this is what the character is, and that's why they were kind of furious that you can't change Peter Parker. It says explicitly that he is a white teenager from Queens. He's always going to be a white. So they change everybody around him. They can change everybody around him, but we've already had
two different MJs at this point that weren't the MJ from the comics.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. That's why, you know, even the new Spider-Man cartoon, like everybody around Peter is different. They've changed them, but they can't touch Peter Parker himself. He has to be. So that might be that, like, you know, Disney said, no, this is who Spider-Man is.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense otherwise, because like, why would he be so adamant it has to stay the same? But then you think he'd say, well, we have to keep it that way because the rules or something. But I don't know.
I think he gets off on it. I think he gets off on it.
That's part of it too. I do. I think it's got to be either him being a complete colossal asshole thinking that he has some power in the world, or like you said about Disney wants it a certain way because they already have two other MJs in their MCU.
Right.
And everything else. And they're like, they have some kind of, thing on it that he can't be married or something like that, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, you think if they want to make money, Disney would have stepped in by now and said, no, you need to put this back, but they're not, which makes me kind of like, why?
Marvel wants to make money? What? That's a comic book publisher actually wants to make money? Oh my God.
I know. They're technically not allowed to. They technically have to just do what the activists want, because that's what their job is. They're not supposed to profit. They're supposed to just keep losing money to give them what they want, even though they won't read the book anyway.
So this is a crazy theory. Are these publishers, these comic book publishers, because it's so easy to get things right? It's so easy to get things right. And everybody's telling you what they want. For years, they've been telling you what they want.
They know what people want. I mean, it's handed to them on a platter.
So if they're deliberately doing the opposite of that, are they doing it just to offset profit from other divisions of Disney or Warner Brothers? Like
have a loss there to make up for
right. Like,
things.
The comic book publisher lost, a couple $1 million last year. Well, we'll take that on our taxes. We'll take that off.
Or no, what used to be their movies did well, even if the comics didn't. Because when their movies were doing well, that was when they were making all the stupid decisions where they raised spent and swapped out characters in the comics. They could take some of the losses from the comics and offset the tax liability on the movies if they were, overall, because they're technically kind of different. But now they're just losing at everything, so it doesn't make any sense.
So let's Oh, we're really into it. Let's talk about it some more. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Hey, I'm going to pimp these pins today because this is a very low-key Kickstarter we did for Shadowbinder's hard enamel pins. They're 2-inch pins. They're at the manufacturer right now. We should get them back in a couple of weeks. And we have a very, very limited quantity of these. So if you want to get a set before they're gone, go out to Kickstarter. And these will actually be the very first Nidaria branded anything that we do.
I was going to say, yeah, it's the very first jelly.
Yeah, look, it's got the new logo on the back. So that's what you're going to be seeing, that logo on some of our stuff going forward. So, yeah, thank you very much for the support. Let's talk about this. This is I gotta give a hat tip to Vinny again. He actually sent a couple things over last night, and they're good. He's got a good eye. Bleeding Cool. Tom Breevort explains why you won't get a Spider-Man marriage ever again.
Does he give an explanation, or did he just say you're not because I don't? What is his explanation?
This is coming from his Substack again, and this has been going on for weeks, so like back and forth, because people are like, look at Ultimate Spider-Man, how well it's selling. Like, why couldn't you just do that in the 616? Like, what is the problem? Like, you can do an unmarried younger Peter Parker in another. They did it before with the original Ultimate Spider-Man. They reset Spider-Man. It was kind of a reboot, and it was like, Spider-Man happened in the modern day, and it was wildly successful. So you had both versions of Spider-Man. Okay, so this is coming from a Substack. Marvel executive editor, SVP, and X-Men group. Yeah, good. You did a bang-up job on that. X-Men group editor Tom Breevort was asked by a reader, in your opinion, is there a threshold that a book like Ultimate Spider-Man or Renew Your Vows or Spider-Girl or any of the other Peter and MJ are married couple projects throughout the decades could reach that would cause Editorial to say, okay, Amazing is losing to this other book. Clearly the thing, it did. Mm-hmm. It did lose to Ultimate last year. Clearly the thing the audience is responding to is married Spider-Man. We should bring that back to our main continuity. So he touches it again. He says 18 years later, it rankles a very vocal part of the fan base. And Tom Breevort,
the ones that buy your books, you mean? The
ones who are actually keeping what little is left of the mainstream comic book direct market alive, which are like 30, 40, 50-year-olds. And this is what they remember is married Peter Parker. He said, if I were a smart man, I would let this deadly fastball go by untouched, make new mistakes, right? If I was a smart man, never be a smart man, Tom. He continued, you never say never, but I don't believe there's any such threshold because that's not what publishing Ultimate Spider-Man or Renew Your Vows and the like is all about. Those aren't test cases. They are alternatives for those who desire those alternatives.
So the majority?
The majority?
Because when you offer that alternative, they pick it over your other stuff. I'm just saying.
And I don't know if they expected that. I really don't. I think they were like, oh, we'll try this Ultimate, whatever. And it actually supplanted Amazing Spider-Man last year. And now they're going to bring Kevin Smith in to write Amazing Spider-Man.
Because that's going to work.
Because that's going to bring the fans back. Yeah.
He did such a wonderful job with, Revelation. Revelation was better though.
He did Green Arrow. He's done a bunch. I mean, he likes comics. He's done a bunch of comics. Whether or not those comics are good, that's up for debate.
Is he gonna be obsessed with people's dicks?
I don't.
Someone have a battle boner?
Spider dick.
Shoots. Sorry, go ahead.
Shoots. I was like, did you ever see a panel with Aunt May where she sees the white sticky fluid coming from underneath the door? It's his web fluid, but it's like, Peter, what are you doing in there?
Well, I mean, at least it's not radioactive this time.
Oh my God. Yeah. Right. Like this is who we're going to listen to. The same company that they hate the idea of them being married. It's like, yeah, they can't even be married in the future. We have to give her cancer because of being with Peter Parker and his radioactive spider dick. God. Well, okay. Anyway, he said, I believe that we've concluded decisively that the best platonic ideal of Spider-Man is one that's unattached. And that conclusion isn't going to be changed by a particular alternate interpretation momentarily performing well.
This is Disney then. What we've concluded decisively. So I'm thinking this is a Disney mandate.
It might be.
The platonic ideal of Spider-Man is one that is unattached. Who's they? He said we've concluded. Well, who's we've? Decisively. So he's basically not saying it's him, because before he was kind of like, well, I don't think, I wouldn't do that. But now he's saying we've concluded decisively. Who's we? Yeah. This right. I'm thinking, okay, I didn't know anything about this, but my money's on Disney.
That sounds like a very Disney-esque answer.
Yes. And before it was him and now it's we.
because they want brand synergy. So if Tom Holland's Spider-Man is unattached in the MCU and the Spider-Man in the cartoons, he's still a teenager, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, okay, well, we got to keep him there then. We have to keep him there, even though, you know, Spider-Man's been around for many, many decades. Amazing Spider-Man has been consistently our best-selling regular title for a decade and a half.
Last year.
Yeah. So another book selling better than it isn't a cause for concern. It's a cause for celebration. I can tell he's like grinding his teeth.
Okay, this sounds like I can't say anything, and I'm tired of taking all the bullets.
Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man sales continue to click along just as they've consistently done. So pointing to Ultimate and concluding that the one and only factor contributing to its success is coincidentally the one factor that those fans would like changed about Amazing Spider-Man is working backwards from a desired conclusion. No, that was the selling point. That was the selling point. They had the first issue. They had multiple covers, including bring back some 90s artists like J. Scott Campbell. And they have multiple covers with Spider-Man and MJ together. That's what people want.
That's what people wanted. And they keep acting like it's a vocal minority. Clearly not, because when you did it, you had a lot of people buying the book. They keep acting like it's a fluke and you can't decide that's why it's sold better. Yeah, you can, because the only real difference was that they put them back together. So that is an obvious, conclusion to make. But blink twice if Disney is telling you this, but you can't say something, because this sounds to me like it went from I don't think to we've decisively concluded and all this other stuff, and the way it's worded, I'm thinking this is a mandate that's going forward, but they're not telling people that.
It's very strangely worded. I mean, if it were me and I were a publisher and I'd be looking at the data, I'd be like,
Here. So this is the article being cool. So Marvel Comics has concluded, owned by Disney, that an unmarried Spider-Man in 616 is what you're going to get. So that's Marvel's owned by Disney.
Yeah. And they do this. And I know that was an issue for a lot of people because they wanted black Peter Parker, bisexual, whatever. And then, but the Disney mandates basically like, as far as Spider-Man's concerned, this is who the character is, straight white teenager from Queens. And that is it. But then you can change everybody around him, which is what they do. And that's why they have to have Miles Morales too, because if they had their way, they'd be like, oh, Peter Parker's a black kid now, but they have to have both because they can't change Peter. They're not allowed to.
And that's what they do. Like they have character like guidelines for all their stuff. And that goes with the territory when it comes to like the Disney stuff. You can't change it to a certain point.
But they treat them like shit in the comics now.
Yeah, but to argue that that's not why it's sold and it's a vocal minority, everything is disingenuous and absolutely stupid.
Yeah, it's bullshit. This was a huge event. My generation anyway, Gen X, older millennials, we grew up with Peter Parker and MJ being married. It was a thing. Or if not married, in a very close relationship, he wasn't dating a whole bunch of other people. I mean, it just is what it is. And they chose Mary Jane for the first Spider-Man movie instead of Gwen Stacy. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, because it was like MJ's always been synonymous with Peter Parker, and they just will not let them get back together. She's the Lois Lane to his Clark Kent.
Right, and that's a common knowledge. And the thing is, it's like the fact that they aren't doing it just tells me that it's because of their MCU shit. And I really honestly think, because it was before, it was like his thought, I, me, and now it's we. He's referring to it as we. So I think it's like mandates. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was mandates. But he's also getting tired of being bombarded. So now he's just like, oh, for heaven's sakes. And it's like, we decided instead of just me.
And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I mean, God, just think about all the money left on the table. Like, again,
I know.
If I were
Disney does that a lot. So
they do. Actually, I don't know, because I don't know. I wonder if Disney were actually paying attention to this, and they'd be like, wow, that Ultimate book sold, because they probably are paying some attention to the comics. They're like, hey, how come Ultimate Spider-Man sold better than Amazing Spider-Man last year? But
again, if it's a case of where because of the MCU, and that's why they broke up him and MJ last time in the movie, Doctor Strange and all that. Or was it last Spider-Man movie? Whatever movie
Whatever.
it was.
They all blend together.
They blend together, honestly.
MCU episode 39.
And they kind of make them so she forgets him and everything else. And it's like they're trying to keep him, unattached. And he said the mandate for Marvel is that he's going to stay unattached. So that, to me, says that's what that would be. Marvel can't make the decision without Disney agreeing to it, especially if it's involving something like Spider-Man. So that's why I'm thinking it might be a Disney decision, not a Marvel one.
Yeah, well, it's a dumb decision.
It is a dumb decision, but it's Disney. Even more reason to believe it's Disney who did it.
So are we going to wrap this up?
Yes.
I think we need to wrap this up. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be honest. I think Marvel Comics ended in 2010. I think you could stop about 2010 and never read another Marvel comic after that because everything got silly, and just pretend everything, post Disney acquisition is apocryphal. And that's probably just like Star Wars. It's easier that way. Just pick a good ending to Marvel Comics and be like, yep, we started in the 60s, we ended here, and that's it. There's no more Marvel Comics, but I've got decades and decades and stacks of comics I can read and go back to. I don't need any new comics because they're stupid. They're stupid.
Right.
So let's wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.